All right. Good morning, and thank you very much for the warm welcome we've received here in Dubai at the Arab Media Forum. My name is Kareem Sahai, and we have on stage Maria Sahai. I am VFX Mojo's CEO and visual effects supervisor, and the title of our talk today is going to be Enhancing Realities VFX in Film, Television, Animation, and Games. Just a quick word about us. So that is me when I was a little bit younger and prettier. We have a company called VFX Mojo. We are a visual effects studio based in Singapore with presence around the world. And I will also let Maria introduce herself.
And I'm a co-founder of VFX Mojo, and I'm an effects supervisor. And thank you again very much for welcoming us. And as Karim mentioned, we work with studios and we work with teams all over the world.
That's right. And in the work that we do, we tend to think of visual effects as mostly movies, mostly TV series. But visual effects is really in many, many different domains, and we'll dive a little bit deeper into that. And we'll show you as well some examples of the work that we've done.
Unfortunately, the video doesn't work.
Doesn't work, okay.
Yes.
So what is visual effects? Can you maybe Maria can define what visual effects is, really?
So today our talk is about visual effects and why all of you should care about it. So what is it? As you can see, visual effects is creation manipulation of images that do not exist in real life. It's something that we're adding onto real life footage, or we're creating something completely in a computer. That's what we're talking about here today.
And visual effects really started a long time ago, but the present modern visual effects that we know under the term VFX is really about using digital technology in its many forms to create compelling, to create engaging content that captivate the audience in many ways. And in creating this content, there are many different parts of doing this work, but most importantly, visual effects is not simply in movies and TV. It is really actually everywhere, and you may not realize that.
This is one of the reasons why we're talking to you today, because you might not realize, but on a daily basis, through your phone, through your laptops, or through your tablets, you're looking at visual effects absolutely everywhere. So, for example, you might have seen this case study. On the left side, this is not Tom Cruise, and on the right side, this is also not Tom Cruise. It is a famous case study where a AI company, created a TikTok and Instagram accounts of a person who looks like this on the left, but in life. Unfortunately, the video does not play right now in the presentation, so I'll have to show you just the still. On the right, how we see Tom Cruise, the actor who is playing him, how he's moving, and his face is being replaced real time. So sometimes imagine you're opening your TikTok, you're opening your Instagram, you're seeing someone's face, but these days you are not sure if this is actually their real face, and this is part of visual effects.
That is true. And a lot of the technologies that are used to create this photorealistic content involves many different domains of technical knowledge, technical proficiency. We're talking about, of course, visual effects, which encompasses a lot of the different techniques that have been used in the creation of content in movies and TV. But you also now have additional technologies such as machine learning and, of course, artificial intelligence, which are combining a lot of these techniques to create either products that you can use, say, for example, on TikTok, applications that are easy to use, or they equip professionals like us, like our studio, with tools that are maybe a little bit less user-friendly, but that provide us with the ability to create, modify, enhance, or automate certain tasks that we use in visual effects in order to, again, create compelling, engaging content for the films that we work on. But visual effects is not always just on screen for moving pictures. We have a case of a very well-known artist on his artist name, Beeple. And he used a combination of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and visual effects to create under the term NFT, but in fact created art which combines all these techniques. And some of his work actually went to auction at Christie's, and the image that we have behind us, I think, fetched $65 million for sale, as a sale, which was quite unique at the time when it happened a few years ago.
Yeah, and these days, of course, 10, 15 years ago, talk to people, visual effects, they will start talking to you about Star Wars, big movies, but these days, even the new filters that are coming out on your favorite apps, we should also put them in the category of visual effects. That's why all of us should care about, because you are using them on a daily basis.
Exactly. And the thing is, when we talk, the reason we talk a lot about visual effects, and you'll see, like, whether you see these compelling videos of Tom Cruise or the effects that you use in TikTok, the most important message that we were trying to share with you today is that it is by creating compelling content that you're able to captivate an audience, keep them engaged, keep them interested in what you're looking at, and this becomes an extremely powerful tool for anybody and everybody who has a story to tell. And we'll dive a little bit deeper into this aspect. And we're not here simply to talk to you about technology. We're talking to you about how to use this technology in order to empower yourselves as creators. So of course we have a background in Hollywood. We've been working on mostly US or North American type productions. We finished a few months ago working on Dune Part 2, which was in the cinemas, I think in March. We just finished working on George Miller's Furiosa, which is now in the cinemas. So we tend to work with large budget productions. But this is only, if you think about that, that's only really a segment of the kinds of products, the kinds of engaging content that you can put out there. Nowadays, you don't necessarily need to have access to $200 million budget to make and create a story that is compelling. And this is really the message that we're trying to convey here today.
Yeah, we want to share a message with you, the new generation, is that when you think of, as we just said, creating a new story, you have an idea, you want to create a short film, you want to create a web series or something, want you to think about opportunities and not limitations, because visual effects is something that can help you deliver your story faster on a lower budget, and basically from the start to the finished project, you can speed up the process a lot. And here behind us, you will see some examples of visual effects that are called invisible visual effects that some of you might not realize when you watch movies. Of course, you might think explosions, big starships, this is visual effects. But also, if you have an idea of creating a zombie apocalyptic city, you do not need a huge budget of actually creating props and destroying buildings or painting something. A lot of that is done in visual effects. You can see green screens are used and then something is added in the background. For example, like Karim mentioned, we just worked on Dune Part 2, and a lot of stuff for Dune was actually shot in your backyard right here, but the way it was shot, there are no big sandworms, sorry to tell you, and a lot of stuff is shot on a green screen on the backgrounds, and then it's added in post-production.
Right, so a lot of the visual effects, I mean, when we talk about visual effects, it's very important to understand the categorization that exists under this domain. So we have, as Maria mentioned, visible effects, we have invisible effects, and both of them are obviously under visual effects. Now, why would you want to work and create visual effects that are invisible? Well, there are many factors for that. One of them Maria mentioned is the ability to create new sets, new environments that you don't necessarily need to go and fly an entire crew to a location to shoot, so you're saving money this way. Another aspect of why you would want to use this technique, these technologies, is because you want to have full creative control over the stories that you're putting out, whether it's movie or TV. It gives you a flexibility in terms of creativity, a flexibility in terms of how much you can make a particular location part of your story. And it also gives you the ability to really, again, captivate your audience by creating, manipulating, or essentially enhancing realities by incorporating these technologies.
Yeah, just a few more examples you see behind us of more classical visual effects that we're talking about, where you don't want to explode a real building or a starship that you have in your mind does not really exist in real life, so you create it in the computer.
And a lot of the techniques that go into enhancing or manipulating or creating new realities are based on older techniques such as the green screen and blue screen, or you would have new technologies where you're creating from scratch certain content using machine learning or AI.
And another point we want to deliver and share with you is that VFX can help you develop your local stories, because you are in such advantageous point right now where you have a lot of productions coming to be shot here in the region. So you have direct connection with the companies, with the production companies who come here.
I'll take over, Maria, as having a... because in your backyard a lot of big budget productions are being filmed, one would think, well, that is all there is. We need to work in these kinds of movies, big Hollywood movies. We work in them, but we come here to tell you that that's not all there is. And the ability to use these technologies and develop local content, local productions, local film industry is really where the growth is going to be. What this means for any young creators and filmmakers today is that as you come into this field, you will not need to learn necessarily or create the software that has been created in the past 30 years. It exists right here, right now. You will not necessarily need to develop new techniques. Well, they have been implemented and used, and we now know what they are. But today is the era of young creators, young filmmakers that can put these technologies to use to create films and stories that are really theirs, that are really part of your own history and culture, and that go beyond the traditional only or Hollywood heavy types of production. So it sounds a little bit contradictory. We are Hollywood, visual effects people. However, what the message we want to convey is that using the same techniques, the same technology, because they are much more accessible, we can empower ourselves as local creators, local filmmakers, local digital creators, local visual artists, in order to create content that can then be from this region, radiate out and captivate worldwide audiences. And this is really the key to what we're saying here. By adopting, learning, understanding these technologies, we can empower ourselves to become much more proactive, much more, I would say, engaging, and much more powerful creators for the ideas and stories that we want to tell.
And it's important that we are talking to you about that right now, because now is the time. If you have not thought about visual effects before, now is the time to get into it. Why? Because so many tools that historically they have been very expensive, they have been really hard to learn, they have been really hard to access. These days they're becoming expensive. Or very expensive. They are much more accessible right now. Before 20 years ago, people had to get a box full of manuals and go through them to learn a software to acquire some kind of skills. These days you have Vimeo, you have YouTube, you have all the courses online. If you have manuals online, they probably have examples of work, so it's much more accessible, it's much more easier to learn. And also a lot of tools right now employ machine learning and AI techniques that remove a lot of steps that we had to learn before, but these days you don't need to. You just click a button and it does a lot of
It helps. I mean, it's not like it replaces us completely. And in fact, a lot of the fear around AI and machine learning is like, oh, it's going to replace us. We see it, and we work with machine learning and artificial intelligence very often on the productions that we are creating visual effects for. What we want to say is that, first of all, these technologies are not completely adopted fully, and they're not fully developed. One aspect of the reasons why they're not completely used by everybody is that there's a legal aspect. And in fact, we are only now starting to see what the legal ramifications of using AI and machine learning is. One of the ramifications, one of the big central topic is the learning models that the artificial intelligence is based on. Has it been acquired legally? Has it been trained on data that is acquired legally? And if it's by legally, I mean, if you're going to train a large language model, the system behind using or creating AI, if you're going to create an LLM, large language model, using everybody's data, well, the result that comes from using this process, who does it belong to? That doesn't mean that it belongs to you as a company, because you've trained it on data that does not belong to you. So there's a legal aspect there. So that's one of the reasons why AI and machine learning may not be completely there right now. And the second aspect is that it's not always very easy to control things fully. And a lot of the work that we do in visual effects, we have to be extremely detailed in the control, creative control that we want to, that we need to use in order to create the content that the directors ask for. And the machine learning or AI solutions that exist today are not necessarily fully giving you the control that we actually need in post-production.
Okay, so if you're thinking, where shall I start then? Where do I go from here? First advice from us to you, it will be actually a little bit non-intuitive, but we'll tell you that please get interested in photography. Both of us are photographers, and a lot of people who work in visual effects are photographers. We'll share a few images of ours behind us that you can see we've taken in Greenland, in Svalbard, in Norway, in different parts of the world. And the reasoning behind us asking you to get interested in photography, because no matter what you're planning on doing, if you have your own project, if you're thinking of creating, using visual effects for even social media, it's all about creating realistic, captivating, interesting images, and it starts with looking with your eyes into the world and looking what is actually beautiful to you, what is beautiful to other people, and what makes a beautiful image.
It's the language of...
Getting into photography,
yeah,
it's the
that's right.
language of understanding what light does, what does color do, what is contrast. And it's the language of educating your eye. And I'm sorry, we have very short time, so we're just going to show you the images rather quickly. And tying with the subject of photography is, there is a saying that quality of our inputs dictates the quality of our output.
So true. That's
yes, and we very much advise everyone who, we do a lot of education, and all the students, everyone we advise to please get interested in art in general. Educate your eye, and your input should be of quality input. And the last message before we go, we want to give you is education.
That's right, education. Training and education, because one of the things that is really important to understand is that it's not because you have a lot of things on YouTube that you are necessarily going to become an expert. Unfortunately, a lot of these techniques and a lot of these tools require a certain discipline, a certain way of implementing them. And it's kind of a blessing in disguise, having access to a lot of information. It is really the key to how to really take this information, turn it into usable, actionable knowledge. And really the key to that is actually getting yourself trained into the field of visual effects if you are to use it into your own creation.
Very sorry, we have to close the session a little shorter. If you want to talk to us a little bit more, we will be around here. Catch us, but thank you very much for your... Thank you very much for your attention.
So we'll show you, well, if you want to reach us, you can reach us through our website. And we really want to thank you very much for your attention, and also for the opportunity to interact and come and meet you and also talk to you about visual effects. Thank you very much.
Thank you.